Alright, so chapter 3 of the Vagabond series follows along from the previous chapter where we saw the appearance of Tsujikaze Tenma, Oko, and Akimi. All these new characters were introduced and chapter 3 builds upon them, so let's get right down into it. So Tsujikaze Tenma, the moment he arrives in front of Akimi and Takezo, he states that Akimi went to Sekigahara again, which is the battlefield where she went to collect weapons and where she found both our protagonists. He says that the Tsujikaze gang won't put up with such things and tell her to warn Oko about what he said. Now collecting the swords was a sort of a ploy to get these people off of her back or something close to that. Then we see an amazing shot of Takezo which also introduces chapter number 3. So inside of Oko's house there are arrangements being made in preparation of Tenma's raid, who has by this point left the gang alone. They're busy managing and hiding the swords that the woman duo managed to collect in the battlefield. Matahachi is marveling at all of the stolen items. He says that, what a collection. After the job is finished, Oko heaves a sigh and says that that should be enough to fool Tenma. Then there is this one sword that remains and Takezo picks it up. It is a wooden sword. Takezo takes the sword in his hand, tests its grip and feel, and then makes a slashing motion. The intensity of that slash makes Matahachi flinch, after which he tells Takezo to take it easy, clearly perplexed by our samurai boy's wild side. Upon seeing this, Oko asks Takezo whether or not he wants to have the sword, to which Takezo replies in the affirmative. Because of the whole intensity of his slash accompanied by the machismo of Takezo, Oko is visibly impressed and compliments him by saying that even just an oak sword makes you look more manly, which is clearly a ploy by Oko, an attempt to make the duo stay with them. Upon noticing this, Matahachi clearly understands the game that Oko is trying to play. Meanwhile, our Vagabond doesn't care about these externalities and is more interested in the sword. Takezo then confirms whether or not he can have the sword and Oko gives a kind of sly smirk, which also comes under the notice of Akimi. Now, everyone is noticing this exchange of emotions except our boy Takezo. Matahachi, in seeing this exchange happen, says that he wants something as well, as if he is a little kid out on a carnival with his parents. After this exchange, we are taken to a panel where the four people are busy merrymaking and drinking sake while having a conversation. Matahachi at this point asks Takezo whether or not he plans to leave the place. In actuality, what he's doing is trying to check whether Takezo is getting enamored by Oko. There is a clear case of jealousy going on in the room as Oko is more inclined towards Takezo rather than Matahachi. This is indicated clearly when Oko is seen sitting a little too close for comfort with Takezo. Akimi and Matahachi are both perplexed at this. Matahachi then makes a move and tells the group that he has a fiancée back home and that he will return home to Miyamoto village. This is not stated as a fact, but rather this statement is used as a tool to get a reaction out of Oko. Meanwhile, our boy Takezo is getting inebriated by the second. Upon hearing that Matahachi is engaged, Oko becomes passive-aggressive. She says that I won't stop you unless you leave by your own self. Now, Oko has the upper hand as the words she says clearly have an effect on Matahachi, who thought that she should be head over heels upon hearing this and continue to pester the duo, Matahachi in particular, to stay and be alongside them. By now, our boy Takezo has passed out. Another power play of sorts plays out where Matahachi laughs at Takezo for not being able to keep it together. However, that backfires as well when Oko looks at Takezo's sleepy state in what I assume to be a caring manner. This show of affection makes Matahachi scowl and removes any chances of him increasing his points in Oko's eyes. After this whole charade, a dream sequence takes place where Takezo's father is seen alongside Takezo's younger self. He asks him where his mother has gone, to which his father replies that his mother is now gone out of their lives. Now, the character design of his father is quite interesting in that he is depicted as a very tough and resilient man. Moreover, his clothing makes him off to be quite a dignified man of his time, which clearly shows that he is a samurai. We will find out more about his father and his many feats in the coming chapters. His father then builds up on his previous statement by saying that you are to no longer think of your mother. The young Takezo looks at him angrily, to which his father says that you're a weakling and you don't give me those beast-like eyes. He clearly is a man who wants obedience, giving off the whole appearance of being the overbearing father in Takezo's life. In this singular panel alone, we get to see Takezo's story unfold, and we see why he is such a tough man at the age of 17, while Matahachi, being the same age, is quite mellow compared to Takezo. Now, an important detail that I missed in the previous discussion is the word his father says. he calls his son a beast, which is an important theme of Vagabond till a certain point in the story. Takezo is essentially a wild animal in the coming chapters, looking to become the best of the best through sheer force. When he wakes up from his dream, Takezo opens up his eyes to find Oko present near him, waiting for him to wake up. Before, in chapter 2, she was being subtle about these kinds of matters, but this time she is clearly explicit in her approach to the whole situation. Regardless of her advances, Takezo throws her off. It's that same thing of touch me not that we see from Guts in Berserk, but that is another story that we'll get to in the coming videos. He stops the advance from happening, and as this is happening, we see a loud thump effect on the door, which indicates the arrival of Tsujikaze Tenma. This concludes chapter 3. Now, I've analyzed this chapter as I've gone along, but the most important thing to understand in this chapter is that there is a certain charisma that exudes from Takezo. Because of that, he doesn't care about any advances thrown his way. That particular disregard does go deeper because of the whole touch me not thing that I mentioned before, but that is besides the point. The whole dynamic of the group in this chapter is built down upon in the next couple of chapters, which finally culminates in the weirdest scene I've ever read in manga, and that is not hyperbole since I've seen my fair share of weird moments in reading different series. But regardless, on to chapter 4.